October 17th, 2000. A freezing wind howled through the streets of downtown Chicago. The city was asleep, unaware that in just a few minutes, one of the most ruthless and well-planned heists in history was about to unfold. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows against the wet pavement. The distant sound of a passing car quickly faded, leaving behind an eerie silence, one that seemed to whisper that something terrible was about to happen. At exactly 2:13 a.m., a black GMC Savannah van rolled to a stop a block away from the Grand Capitol Bank. The 6 men inside weren't just thieves. They were professionals, dressed in black tactical gear and armed with AR-15 rifles, Glock 19s, and Remington 870 shotguns. They had spent the past year planning every single detail. They knew every camera angle, every guard's routine, and every security flaw. Their leader, Anton "the Ghost" Volkov, a former Russian special ops soldier, took a final glance at his watch. It was time. The planning phase, a heist in the making. This heist wasn't conceived overnight. It had been in the making for over a year, with every move meticulously calculated. Anton had assembled a crew of experts, an explosive specialist, a getaway driver, a former bank hacker, and ruthless enforcers who would ensure no resistance got in their way. They didn't just study the blueprints, they recreated the vault door's mechanism in a warehouse outside the city, practicing until they could crack it in minutes. They knew the security shift patterns, who carried what weapons, and even had a mole inside the bank's IT department who fed them real-time updates on security system changes. They identified key weak points: a blind spot in the bank's underground maintenance tunnel, the security room's outdated wiring, and the exact timing when the city's grid caused a power fluctuation, perfect for their blackout plan. They paid off a maintenance worker to leave a specific entrance unlocked and disguised themselves as utility workers to install remote signal jammers days before the heist. To avoid suspicion, they executed dry runs, mapping every potential obstacle. They tested their escape routes, ensuring no dead ends. This was more than just a robbery. It was a military-style operation designed for absolute precision. Execution, a perfect crime. They moved with surgical precision, splitting into positions. Anton, along with his enforcer Victor, took the vault corridor. The hacker Daniel stayed outside in a nearby parked sedan, controlling security feeds remotely. Mark, the explosives expert, stood by the entrance, ready to blow open the vault if the biometric scan failed. The last 2 men, Greg and Lucas, handled the hostages. At precisely 2:28 a.m., the robbers cut the bank's main power, plunging the building into near-total darkness. Emergency lights flickered, casting eerie red glows down the halls. Inside the bank, 3 security guards were on duty. Ethan Rodriguez, 45 years old, a retired Marine, was patrolling the main floor with his Glock 17 holstered at his side. Brian Cates, 38 years old, was stationed in the security office, monitoring the surveillance cameras with a Remington 870 shotgun resting against his desk. Jason Carter, 29 years old, walked near the vault on his routine rounds, his Colt M1911 tucked securely in its holster. None of them knew they had less than 15 minutes left to live. Ethan barely had time to react before a silenced shot tore through his chest. He staggered, his breath hitching, before collapsing to the floor. Brian, hearing the muffled gunfire, reached for the emergency alarm, but he was too slow. A single shot to the head, and he slumped over his desk, lifeless. Jason Carter wasn't as easy. He rounded the corner near the vault and spotted Anton. He raised his weapon, but before he could pull the trigger, Anton fired twice. The first bullet shattered Jason's shoulder. The second ended his life. The heist had officially begun. The team worked fast. Their inside man had already disabled the silent alarms. They had exactly 12 minutes before the backup system reactivated and sent an alert to the police. They dragged the terrified bank manager, Elizabeth Monroe, from her office. Hands shaking, she punched in the vault code, but a biometric scan was still needed. Anton didn't hesitate. He shot a hostage in the leg. "No mistakes," he said, his voice as cold as the steel in his hands. Elizabeth, panicked and sobbing, placed her palm on the scanner. The vault door hissed as it unlocked. Inside was a fortune: stacks of cash, gold bars, and high-value deposit boxes. The robbers stuffed their duffel bags, working with military efficiency. In just 8 minutes, they had seized over $42 million in cash and assets. Anton wiped down surfaces to remove fingerprints. Then, just as quietly as they had entered, they vanished back into the tunnels, disappearing into the darkness beneath the city. By the time the police arrived, it was too late. The bank was a scene of carnage. 3 dead guards, a traumatized manager, and an untouched security system. There were no signs of forced entry, no clear exit points. It was as if the robbers had vanished into thin air. But no crime is perfect. Investigators found a single, nearly invisible shoe print near the tunnel exit and a faint fingerprint on a vault handle. It wasn't much, but it was something. As weeks turned into months, the case baffled authorities. Detectives traced the stolen getaway van to an abandoned warehouse. A surveillance camera from a nearby diner caught a blurry figure, just enough to make out a distinctive tattoo on his neck. Then, a break in the case, a rare ammunition casing left at the scene matched an illegal supplier in Detroit. The supplier led them to a name, Anton Volkov. But there was a twist. Anton had vanished. Some of his crew had been spotted spending large amounts of cash in different states, but Anton was nowhere to be found. It was almost as if he had planned his own escape before the heist even took place. Authorities suspected he had a secondary hideout, one even his own men didn't know about. After 1 year, 2 months, and 6 days of relentless investigation, the FBI finally tracked the gang to a remote hideout in Arizona. At dawn, a SWAT team moved in. The standoff lasted 15 minutes. By the end, some of the crew lay dead, others in cuffs. But something was off. $14 million was still missing. Authorities searched the hideout. Bank accounts, offshore records, nothing. Anton Volkov was presumed dead, but his body was never recovered. Some believe he died in the shootout, others think he escaped, living under a new identity somewhere far away. To this day, investigators believe a 7th member, an unknown mastermind, escaped with the rest of the money. The Grand Capital Bank heist remains one of the most infamous cases in modern history, one that leaves behind more questions than answers. If you found this story as gripping as we did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.